This is the Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
The biggest icon in podcasting.
Welcome in, everybody, to another episode of the DocNJock Wrestling Podcast. This is episode 188. I'm your host, Adam the Jock Strozinski, and on today's show, we've got a possible update on a SummerSlam main event, Jon Moxley with a brand new look, and what could be happening with Jimmy Uso, and why is he throwing his career away? We're going to discuss all of that. Of course, we're going to take a look at the biggest topics and trends in wrestling. And doing it with me, as always, he's the one, he's the only, he is the Doc, John Macaroon. What's up, cuz?
Cuz, gotta let you know that the office has formally corrected the mistake that we made. Your no-compete clause went from 90 days to 400 days. So we have corrected that egregious error that we made here at the DSP offices. So we aren't making any clerical mistakes like some of the biggest companies in the world, because we can't have you showing up to great networks that are not DSP if and when you decide to leave.
Yeah, we're going to get into all of that, of course, because that was mind-blowing this week. But let's start with Monday Night Raw. Monday Night Raw is teasing a Jinder Mahal, Drew McIntyre story. And I'm not sure how compelled the general audience is, and I'm not sure how compelled you are in this storyline. But I think what you have here is you've got two guys who physically look the part, two guys who can go blow for blow with each other, and two guys who have a ton of history that you can pull from to create a story. And you can do all this with Jinder being the heel, Drew being the face, and Jinder wanting what he feels is his just deserves, because Drew McIntyre has been pushed to the moon. He's won the WWE Championship. He is one of the biggest superstars in WWE. While Jinder Mahal has been sidelined, they both came out of a group called 3MB. Out of those guys, Drew McIntyre seems to really be the only guy who has gotten a nice, solid far push, where Jinder, he was utilized to try to bridge that gap with Southeast Asia, but it didn't really work, and nobody really took it serious. So I think you have something here, and I'm wondering if you're interested in it.
Well, see, the thing is, when you look at it, it would make sense that Drew McIntyre would go over, but I think this is definitely a feud that can elevate Jinder Mahal back to where he needs to be. And I think it's great, because when you look at WWE writing and creative, they're looking for natural storylines that they can build upon and that they can kind of have multiple layers to. And this one has it, where Jinder can be very jealous. He can be the heel. He can definitely say and do heelish type things to get back at Drew McIntyre for taking the step forward in his career, leaving him behind. I mean, I know it's going to be played out in typical, but as long as the story culminates in some brutal, nice matches in the ring, I like it. I am interested. And I think that there's an opportunity for Drew McIntyre to kind of have a transitional feud before he finds out what's next. And then Jinder Mahal has to be elevated from this feud, because, I mean, the man is still young. He's been through so much that he got his title reign around 30, 31 years old, and then he spent the last couple of years hurt. But the man's only 34 years old, so if you can establish another character that can have a run for a couple more years, I think this feud is great, and I'm interested in it, because as long as it's not cliche, which is, I think, our biggest fear, is that this feud will end up being a cliche. Oh, I'm jealous of you. Look what you did. You left me behind. You promised to be my friend. If it's shit like that, it's going to be played out. But as long if it has some nuance and some more layers to it, just true competitiveness, jealousy, things like that, then hey, I can see this impacting both guys in a good way.
Yeah, and I think you're right. In the end of all of this, Jinder Mahal has to come out with the rub. Like, Drew McIntyre is already on the moon. You need to get Jinder Mahal somewhere off of Earth and between the moon. He's got to get elevated up. He's got to move up. Again, this guy, whether he's on steroids or not, I know there's been a lot of fans think he is, because the way he's got his body into such crazy shape, and I know the back knee is kind of off-putting when you have a high-def television. But this guy looks phenomenal. He cuts a really good promo when it's not overly scripted. He has a good look, and he can move in the ring. The injuries are the thing that really detour parts of his career. He is a guy who needs to be brought up, and he's a guy who could be that mid-card heel on Monday Night Raw if you need him to be. So there has to be a little bit of a rub. There has to be some give and take here. But look, man, I think it'd be a fantastic storyline. It's built in. It's there. Like, WWE creative can't screw this up. It's so simple. Now something else that's getting teased quite a bit. You have Kofi Kingston looks like possibly challenging Bobby Lashley and going back and forth with him as Xavier Woods kind of gets knocked around a little bit. And there seems to be this mounding and underground swell of people who kind of want to see Kofi get that shot again. They want Kofi Mania again. Should WWE do a hard pivot, and should they go Kofi versus Bobby Lashley for the WWE Championship?
Man, that's tough, huh? It's weird because I feel like we were kind of building towards the surprise Bobby Lashley Brock Lesnar match. It's kind of where I felt like we were going. I feel like that was what was planned for SummerSlam. I'm not so sure anymore. I was like, if you would have talked to me about, hey, what are they going to do with Bobby Lashley 3 months from now? I'd be like, we would have got done with Drew McIntyre and we're moving on to Brock Lesnar. It's going to be Brock Lesnar. He's going to show up and that's where we're going. Now I'm not so certain. Now I'm not 100% sure what we're doing with Bobby Lashley, but these things going on with Kofi, and like Kofi, it's weird because what's happened is it's been Xavier Woods, Bobby Lashley, and Kofi's kind of been, like if you had like one of those little circle diagrams, Kofi's kind of been in the mix, but not a whole lot with those circles. And now it seems like each week that passes, Kofi gets a little bit more involved and Xavier gets pushed out a little bit more. And I don't know. To me, it seems like this might be the direction we're heading. Yeah, I like it. I think that, Kofi has been a reliable talent and somebody that is over. And I think that there is just a natural intrigue that Kofi brings to the table. And the fact is, he's a good wrestler. He has all the tools. He has all the tools. And I think a second title opportunity would be great for Kofi Kingston. And the thing that's challenging is, though, he's so ingrained as part of the New Day that the problem was once he won the title, I don't know, going back to the New Day was the right move. You could have just kept him as a singles competitor going from feud to feud. Having him continue with the New Day, I think, has been a little bit of a hindrance after his title run, and I'm not sure. It's like really 50-50 in terms of if they should do a hard pivot, if they will at all. But it just seems like the problem is that is it really believable that Kofi Kingston could take down Bobby Lashley? It feels like the winner, the guy that's going to take the belt off of Bobby Lashley after this good run, has to be a big star. I mean, a big A star. Kofi's there, but it's just not believable that I think that Bobby should win the feud if it takes place. But I don't think they're going to do a hard pivot.
Yeah, I don't know what they're going to do either, and I don't believe that they're going to do that hard pivot either. But look, Kofi, like, I don't know. I just remember a couple years ago, right, when Kofi Mania was running wild, and it was like the most over and organic and unique thing. And it was absolutely great because he was one of those guys who he would get just slaughtered in the ring. And then next thing you know, he'd be doing a move off the top rope and he'd end up winning a match. And it was just like the craziest thing. And the crowd would get so behind it. And you'd be watching these matches and you'd be like, how the hell is he going to win this? Is he going to win this? Like what, how? And then next thing you know, he does win it. It's absolutely crazy. So I don't know. I'm not sure what direction they're going to go with this. It's going to be interesting to see kind of what happens here. I feel like as we approach SummerSlam, we don't have a whole lot of concrete stories and we don't have a whole lot of direction. I know we still have to get through Money in the Bank, but it's just really, really strange to me that you don't even see kind of the outline or the game plan yet. It's just kind of we're getting things going. They're trying to get back on the road, and it feels like all those things are getting put ahead of these creative ideas. And I don't know. It's weird. And I think some of it has to do because you've got different things that are popping up. You know, on SmackDown, we're going to talk about what happened with Bayley, but Bayley got removed from her title opportunity at Money in the Bank due to an injury. We're going to discuss that in news and notes. I don't want to get too deep into it here. but you've got a lot of different moving parts going on right now. And I think SmackDown is a prime example. Tegan Nox shows up after re-debuting on NXT on Tuesday night, and she shows up on SmackDown. And to me, I was like, wait, what? Well, hold up. Like, she looks like she has a built-in storyline on NXT, but she's here on SmackDown on Friday night. I was like, this is really strange. Like, what are they going to do with her? And it got me to thinking, maybe they'll do a little bit of a part-time bit with her where she's on SmackDown, where she's on NXT, and she bounces back and forth until she's done with her NXT feud, and then she'll just be up on the main roster with SmackDown. What do you think about that?
Yeah, absolutely. It just harkens back to what a new AEW star said on a recent appearance, and he said, what's the real value of getting called up? And anytime that we see these call-ups, I just feel like, man, their career just took a shit, and then they have to change that. They have to change that narrative.
Dude, I thought that same thing last night. I was like, well, there goes Shotzi Blackheart, and there goes Tegan Nox's career.
Exactly, and that has to change because the character said it, and we'll tease it out as to who said that. But it is not, currently, remember, just as short as 3 years ago, when a character debuted, and the biggest one was Kevin Owens when he showed up. Paige, when he showed up and he powerbombed John Cena, it was a big deal. You showed up. Enzo and Cass, they showed up. After that, starting with the Ascension, it just seems like, and then now highlighted by Keith Lee, it just seems like the call-up is the death knell of a career, and you end up going, oh, man, this dude showed up and the main roster. You just don't fit. And I know the world of professional wrestling is tough, and the idea is it's maybe easier to get there, but then it's tougher to stay there. But they're so finicky in terms of storylines that it just almost seems like they're set up to fail. Mm-hmm. And nobody likes that because we like these characters in NXT. So the fact of the matter is right now, if you're an NXT star and they say, hey, you're getting called up, if you say, hey, I have an idea to do this in NXT, if you can extend that stay longer, you might extend your career.
Yeah, it seems to be the strangest thing. This is all one company. It has 3 different brands, yet the one brand remains superior over the other 2 brands. It's absolutely crazy to me. Like, if we didn't have to watch Monday Night Raw and we didn't have to watch SmackDown, I'd be totally okay with it. The only brand that I care to give any time to is NXT. It's the only one that I care to watch. And it's strange because NXT seems to get the stories right. They seem to build the characters well. And we're going to talk a little bit about NXT, and we're going to talk about a specific character here in a moment who, I don't know, I had no idea she even existed probably a month and a half ago, 2 months ago. I don't even remember when she exactly debuted. I just remember when she did debut, I was like, okay, cool, we'll see what happens here. She's got a bit of an interesting look, and we'll see where this goes. But they've got her in such a spot now where I'm pretty positive she's a household name. She's now a champion, and she's done a great job. There's a little bit of foreshadowing for everybody there. So it's weird when you get called up to Raw or SmackDown from NXT. It really does seem like your career does do an about face and takes a complete nosedive. Speaking of nosedives with careers, we're gonna save situations going on with the head of the table and everybody involved with the head of the table till we get to news and notes, because there's a bit to discuss there. I don't want to give it away right now. Are you cool with us saving that little bit till we get to the end of the program so we can kind of talk about what's going on with Roman Reigns and the Usos?
Yeah, absolutely. Let me put down my vodka here at 9 a.m.
Okay, cool. Thanks. I appreciate you doing that for the show.
Yeah, no problem.
All right, let's transition to NXT. I've already kind of foreshadowed a little bit about what we're going to talk about here, but we have new NXT Women's Tag Team Champions. We've got Io Shirai and we've got Zoe Starks. They defeated Candice LeRae and Indy Hartwell. And they defeated Candice LeRae and Indy Hartwell with the help of Tegan Nox, who showed up after we've had this mystery battery debut. They would flash this image of a battery, and it would be charging. This week, the battery hit full charge. Tegan Nox showed up at the top of the ramp, distracted Candice LeRae enough for Indy Hartwell to get finished in the ring. Now, here's the thing. This is what I'm talking about. Zoe Starks is somebody, and look, you and I both watched a bit of indie wrestling. Probably not as much as a lot of people, especially not as much now as we did probably pre-pandemic. I used to watch a ton of indie wrestling pre-pandemic. Now I just, busier schedule, I don't have as much time to invest in it. But Zoe Starks is somebody I've never, ever heard of. I had no idea who she was. She was basically brought into NXT. They did a little spot with her. She got in the ring, and I was like, all right, cool. I was like, she's got an interesting look. We'll kind of see how this works out. She moves in the ring really, really well. And she looks like she's confident behind the mic. Now, as weeks have gone on, she's gotten much more confident. Her in-ring work has gotten much better. She still has that interesting look, and I'm going to be honest with you. That interesting look, she looks like a woman, but she also kind of looks like a man. I don't know. When she comes on the TV screen, me and my girlfriend kind of joke. My girlfriend more than me, she's like, she kind of looks like a dude. And I'm like, she kind of looks like a dude. But she just has really hard features in her face. All right, that's all we're going to say. I'm not trying to bury her. I think she has big time star potential. And she feels like to me that she's going to be the next big thing in NXT, especially for the females. To me, it feels like at some point she will get elevated as high as an Io Shirai, as high as Rhea Ripley, as high as Raquel Gonzalez. To me, Zoe Starks feels like the next big thing coming out of NXT, or in NXT is what I should say. Are you on the same page as me, or is this all just kind of me maybe buying into the hype a little bit too much? Which, if that's the case, good on NXT for getting me to believe this, because Raw and SmackDown do not do a good enough job of highlighting their females.
Absolutely, I think you're spot on. I think Io Shirai and Zoe Stark are worthy to be the tag team champions. I think she's enigmatic. I think what it is that once a character emerges at NXT, you want to peel back the layers and see more what they bring to the table. And what NXT does so good is that they typically deliver, and they're like, oh, there's more multifaceted aspects to a lot of these characters in terms of their in-ring work, what their promos can be like, because they're given time. They're given a little bit of that opportunity to shine a little bit. And I think that's why NXT just has that more appeal for you and me, is that you get an opportunity to kind of go, oh man, the tag titles changed hands. We're truly bummed that Candice LeRae and Indy Hartwell lost, because you've invested in the character. And I think that's where WWE lacks at the main roster level. I mean, okay. Roman Reigns, head of the table, he's going to do this. Oh, okay, Seth Rollins, he's going to do this. You've lost kind of a little bit of that emotional investment because they've been there for so long, kind of that they've had, a lot of the wrestlers have been there for over 3-4 years, where a lot of these wrestlers at NXT are new and fresh, and so we're still peeling back the layers, whereas at the big time, at the main roster level, a lot of the characters we know, and we've already kind of had that crescendo where I think nowadays you got a good 2 to 3 year run, and after that 3 to 4 year run, very few transition and have a multifaceted approach like Chris Jericho, where he just constantly had bit after bit that was over after over after over, and that's where I think NXT shines, is the newness, the freshness of the character are still developing. Where at WWE, we know him. Okay, Seth Rollins, this is what he brings to the table. How many, it's basically oversaturation, because they wrestle so much after 5, 6, 7 years of watching Seth Rollins. Unless he starts doing some lucha libre shit, we pretty much know what he's about, and these characters, like you said, in Zoe Stark, very fresh and very new, and I think that she can have the opportunity to shine at NXT.
I mean, I think what you said about Seth Rollins is pretty accurate, right? So Seth Rollins and Cesaro had a really great match on SmackDown.
Yeah.
But I don't know about you. I was hoping Cesaro won, but at no point did I really believe Cesaro was going to win this.
Right. I think
it's weird, because you know kind of where everybody's at on this pecking order, and you know who gets preferred and who has the preferential treatment.
And it's so weird too, because this is the problem. When you introduce capitalism and money into everything, I think for WWE on a grand scale, less is more. If you literally took a month off and they just said, you know what, from WrestleMania until SummerSlam, we're not going to have that many shows. If you just had one show a week, I mean, I remember back in the day, what was the night that we all got excited for? It was Saturday night because it was WCW night. It was a couple hours and you got to sit back and go, okay, what's going to happen? Because all the big matches would take place Saturday. Now in WWE, it's like we got a Monday show, we got a Wednesday show, we got a Friday show, and a pay-per-view. Over the course of time, that is just way oversaturation. And I think that it diminishes the star power, because if I see a wrestler 4 times a week, it's not as cool as it was when back in the day it was like, man, it's Monday Night Raw, all the big shit's going to happen here, and that was it. I think for even for WCW, I don't think Thunder really added that much to the program.
Yeah.
And I think that's where the problem is. It's oversaturated, and that's why AEW is fresh, is that it's once a week, all the big shit happens once a week, and all the big pay-per-views do not happen every month. They happen over the course of a couple months. So that's where I'm curious to see with the expansion of AEW how that's going to work.
Yeah, you know what? More to your point, I find wrestling to be one of those things where fans kind of cycle on and cycle off. And usually when you cycle off, you're away for quite a while. Usually it's 6 months, maybe a year, maybe 2, maybe 3 years. And then you come back. And when you come back, you're just blown away by everything that's going on. I remember I cycled off wrestling for probably a good 2 or 3 years. And then I cycled back on and I was just like, oh my God, why does everybody hate Roman Reigns? Roman Reigns is great. And then you give it 5-6 months, and you kind of see why everybody hates Roman Reigns at the time, because he was getting crammed down everybody's throat. Now, that being said, the product was still pretty decent, but the little nuances, the watching it every single day and watching how things kind of play out, it becomes really mundane. It becomes almost trite, and you're just kind of walking in the same footsteps over and over and over again. And I think that's what kind of diminishes a lot of the luster about wrestling and about some of this programming that we get, because it's a lot of the same stuff just kind of force-fed to us. And that becomes frustrating as a fan to watch. It becomes hard to watch. Something that wasn't really hard to watch. On NXT, Adam Cole, Kyle O'Reilly, they tore the house down at the Great American Bash. I thought it was a fantastic match. The only problem I had with this was if you're trying to get Kyle O'Reilly over, Kyle O'Reilly suffered a lot of damage in this match, took a lot of heavy hits and a lot of heavy blows. He should have been the one to come out the winner over Adam Cole. I feel like Adam Cole is a household name. He is made. At some point, Kyle O'Reilly has to get this victory, and they have to move on from this, because this seems like this has been going on for a bit now. And I'm not mad about it, because a lot of it is still really good work in the ring. But at some point, Kyle O'Reilly's got to get over, right? Like, Adam Cole shouldn't always win these matches.
Yeah, that's the delicate balance between this feud, is that, okay, maybe the last one goes to Kyle O'Reilly because of the fact that you're trying to get him over. Adam Cole has already been established, but it also builds intrigue, so when it does, it'll mean something. So you're absolutely right. Cole and O'Reilly can definitely tear the house down at any point in time, and eventually speaking, I do believe Kyle O'Reilly will get over on a big stage.
Yeah, I think so. At some point he will as well. Let's get your review of Impact this week.
Here we go. We're going into Slammiversary. I'm really liking a lot of different things. I'm liking the build-up between Kenny Omega and Sami Callihan, but a little bit predictable in that you always know when they're like, oh, Sami Callihan's in jail and Omega's out here talking shit. You know what's going to happen. And I'll tease that till the end. It was a good show. Overall, very enjoyable. Took place from Nashville, Tennessee. Josh Matthews, D'Lo Brown on commentary. First match with Brian Myers taking on Jake Something, with Jake Something getting over. Per the stipulation, Myers was forced to say how legit he is as a wrestler, but Matt Cardona returned to save Something as he was getting over, and Jake Something got the victory. The Knockout Championship, we got a debut of Lady Frost. It was a very good match, but she was not able to take down the champ, Deonna Purrazzo. Now, in a handicap match, the emerging William Morrissey doing his thing, taking down Jason Page, Manny Smith, and Deontay Evans. Listen, man, that guy's a star as long as he keeps his head on straight. when he comes on the screen and the way in which the production's set up, he looks the part. So I was very, very, very impressed. You had Rich Swann versus Carl Anderson versus TJP versus Diener. And it was cool to see Carl Anderson get some moves and to see him get over. So here's the situation in which we, are going to highlight a lot of in regards to Slammiversary. Does and is Sami Callihan, is he worthy of taking down the title off of Kenny Omega? And as it's kind of portraying out, maybe based on things that you'll report on, it looks like we're looking at the next Impact World Champion. And what happens, you get Don Callis, the big time talker. He comes out and he keeps talking about being a victim and things like that. Kenny Omega takes the mic and is talking shit about Sammy, saying, "Oh, I'm here, he's not." All of a sudden, you get that glitch, and the lights go out. What's going on? And all of a sudden, boom! Sami Callihan hits the low blow and package pile drives Kenny Omega, and then he signs the contract after Kenny did as well. So it's really good. I think that there's an opportunity that we have to see Sami Callihan take that next step forward. And I think that's where we've said it before in previous editions of the podcast, in that we have Kenny Omega, we have a world-class star, and we have Sami Callihan, and now Callihan deserves to get the rub. And if it doesn't take place, I think it'll be the ultimate disappointment, because Sami Callihan has done things. He's put over a lot of wrestlers. I mean, you look at different situations in Impact, you could arguably say that Sami Callihan has become the most believable, rugged character on the entire roster. And so to set up this at Slammiversary, I like it. I like how they've done it. Of course, predictable. Callahan's not there for the contract signing. Okay, he's eventually going to show up there, and it's going to be great to see. So it was a good show. B- all the way. I think that if you're missing out on Impact, you're missing out on some nice storylines, because you know Slammiversary is probably going to produce at least one or two debuts from some wrestlers who have been let go on the chopping block. So stay tuned. This is the time of year for Impact. It's their WrestleMania, and it's called Slammiversary. It's going to be highlighted by Kenny Omega, the Impact World Champ, against Sami Callihan.
Do you think it's weird that you've got Slammiversary taking place next Saturday on the 17th, and then you've got Money in the Bank taking place on the 18th? That's a lot of wrestling to butt up next to each other. And look, I think WWE rolls out their plans months in advance. I don't know if Impact had this day locked in. They usually do it right around this time. It's usually right in the middle of July for Slammiversary. Do you think they should have? And look, you definitely don't want to do it this weekend because you've got the Conor McGregor fight, so that would really cut into your revenue. But do you think they should have maybe moved it so wrestling fans don't necessarily have to pick and choose, if they are going to pick and choose which wrestling program they want to watch?
No, I think that if you're a company, you have your date set. It's around this time of year. It's Slammiversary. It's their time of year. So you don't adapt like that. You have your core audience, and you put on great shows, and through word of mouth, Slammiversary will be okay. It's the show. It's the number one show.
It is their show. That is their biggest program.
And as long as they do good promotion, and look, if you're aware, they have one of their key behind the scenes talent, Tommy Dreamer, on a major show on Sirius Radio, and he's always in promoting Impact. So he's doing a good enough job. They just need a little bit more mainstream coverage. But they're getting there little by little. But right now, they're just a little bit behind the other two in terms of press.
I feel like that is a company. So I'll let you in on a little secret here. So this Thursday, my hockey game got canceled because of all the rain and all the power going out. So we probably could have recorded on Thursday. Instead, we're recording early Saturday morning. And I was sitting around on the couch, and this is what happens, right? Because I don't have any programming dialed in for Thursdays. I don't have anything I really watch, because normally we've just got through the NHL hockey finals, basketball's going on, and that's winding down and wrapping up. And, you know, I have YouTube TV, so I don't get to watch a lot of the Tiger games because Bally Sports and YouTube don't get along. So I usually listen to most of the Tiger games, or I find another way to alternatively stream those games. But Thursday night, I didn't have anything to watch. And I think a solid television deal on a major network would help Impact out so much. Like, you've got Thursday locked up. That is your day of wrestling. If it was easier to watch Impact, if it was on a more localized channel for your cable provider, I think it would do such great work to really shed some light on all the good talent that they do have.
Wait, were you admitting that X Videos was out of order on Thursday? I mean, it's always working for me when I dial it up. I mean, you're like, nothing to what? Oh, you mean nothing wrestling to watch?
Nothing wrestling.
Sorry. No, the big three. The
I forgot X Videos was even a thing.
The big three are still there, bro, and you know what they are. They're always available on demand in every way, shape, and form.
I'll send you two new sites to go check out.
Oh God,
they're pretty decent.
Okay, thank you.
All right, now let's transition away from all of that. The biggest story in wrestling this week took place on AEW. All right. And it wasn't the fan who was trying to enter the ring during the MJF and Chris Jericho signing. It was not that. That was interesting, though. I do want to touch on that really quick before we get into the biggest thing that took place this week in wrestling. What did you make of how Chris Jericho and MJF handled that situation? Because I thought it was fantastic. Now, the cameras didn't show you a whole lot. They showed somebody trying to get into the ring, but you seen both MJF and Chris Jericho basically come to the side of the ring and bully this guy off the ring so security could take his ass away. And then the promos that they cut on each other, referencing that guy, I thought were absolutely fantastic. And that is two dudes who have the creative power and the ability to basically pivot and just speak freely from the head, and the authority to do so, which to me separates AEW from WWE's product. The fact that they are given the ability to just kind of freewheel it and to just kind of go with whatever happens, I think was fantastic. I thought the promo that these guys cut around a fan trying to jump in and jump on MJF was absolutely incredible. And Chris Jericho filleting this guy time in and time out, and MJF cutting him to shreds, I thought was great. I also thought the line that Jericho made about MJF's mom was fantastic. What did you make about this signing and the dude trying to jump in and the way MJF and Chris Jericho handled it?
Yeah, you're going to get roughed up. Don't try that. I mean, it's the first time you're back. I know you're trying to make a name for yourself. Everyone's clout chasing and trying to get their 15 minutes of fame. But, dude, don't do that. Guys, don't jump over the rail. It's professional wrestling. These guys will have the autonomy to whoop your ass. That's not the thing to do. If you want to do it, just go to a golf course and take someone's club. I mean, don't do that. That's easy. The golfers just stare at you and go, what are you doing? They don't touch you. They don't rough you up. You could freaking hit a ball off the tee and play the hole for the player. Wrestling? No, don't do that. But it was really cool to see, to back it up a little bit, when Chris Jericho's music hit, you could sense his appreciation that the fans sing his song so loud. It's louder than the entrance music. And that's what I was excited for. Just at the basic level, the fans are back. The world is getting back to normal. We are seeing people at events. And wrestling is a show that needs the fans to kind of have that back and forth. Who's over, who's not. The opportunity that will take place for wrestlers to showcase their craft in front of people. So this was amazing at the highest level. And oh my God, MJF, Jericho, this is why you signed Chris Jericho, and this is why he should be signed to another 5-year deal, even at 51, 52 years old. You let him develop and you move him behind the scenes, because who better to get MJF over than Chris Jericho? I mean, Chris Jericho behind the scenes can get 15 guys that they have on the roster over by just standing in the ring with them and just having a conversation. And it's amazing, and I love it. It's not stale. It's fresh, and it's basically, oh, these guys are on TV. I have to sit and pay attention to every word. And MJF, credit him. He's holding his own in regards to talking shit with Chris Jericho, and it's helping his brand.
Yeah, no, you hit the nail right on the head. MJF shows no back down to Chris Jericho. A lot of times what happens is you get a young wrestler in the ring with a guy who is a legend and who is a veteran, and all of a sudden their spotlight gets a little bit too big for them and they kind of shrink away. MJF is out there trying to bully Chris Jericho as Chris Jericho bullies him, and it makes for a really interesting interaction. I love it. I think it's fantastic. And you're right. A lot of these really good storylines that we're seeing are Chris Jericho behind the scenes putting things together. Once he's done with his wrestling career, he has so many options and so many abilities. One of them is to go behind the scenes and be a booker, because he would be fantastic at it, because he's booking basically all of his own matches, or to go to the announcing desk and really help get wrestlers over, because he does a fantastic job of that. That is something that I think AEW currently is struggling with a little bit, and we had a massive debut on Wednesday night as Malachi Black shows up as the new debuting character on AEW. I want to get into this because there's so much here for us to kind of unpack and discuss, and it's a lot of good, it's a lot of bad, it's really, really weird. Now, AEW, credit to them, because they capitalized on an oversight by WWE. And I think this took both of us by surprise, and this is part of the reason why we were probably so shocked that this happened. Normally when a wrestler gets released from WWE, they have a 90-day non-compete. They can't go anywhere and work for 90 days. They've got to sit on the sideline. Well, when Aleister Black was called up to WWE, they never adjusted his contract. When you're in NXT, you have a 30-day non-compete. So if somebody gets released from NXT, they can go right back to work a month later. In AEW, it's 3 months later. And we were both kind of penciling Aleister Black. Look, it was no secret. Aleister Black was going to AEW. We all knew this. And we all had it kind of penciled in right around the end of August, beginning of September, when they have, what is it? I think it's All Out is then. We kind of figured he was going to show up then. Next thing you know, there's a bit of an oversight with WWE. He has a 30-day non-compete, shows up on Wednesday to take out Arn Anderson and Cody Rhodes. How blown away were you that this was the guy who shows up when all the lights go black and he takes out those two guys?
I was shocked as all hell. I was like, wait a minute. I'm like, I know I'm working hard, but 90 days didn't pass that fast.
I thought the same thing.
I was like, wait a minute. I'm like, okay, wait. He just got released in June. I know it's training camp. Did I miss something? What was my brain was a little frozen for a second, and then I know you caught it too. The announcers bumbled and stumbled it. Oh, that's Tony. Oh, that's Tony. Oh, wait. Oh no,
we're going to talk about that.
You don't. I think the number one thing, and my point will be clear because I'm going to give the floor to you because I know you were pissed. You don't say I know that kayfabe is dead, but you have to have a little bit of it. You don't go, he's going by Malachi Black. You don't say that, he's going by. We all know this is a character. It's simple. Oh, who is that? It's Malachi Black. That's all you had to do. You don't have to go into the, it's Tony. Oh, I wrestled him. No, he's going by Malachi. It was so bumbled. It's like, no. Okay, you can free flow other shit. Debuts, just act shocked. Tell us the guy's name. I mean, there should be some production. I mean, you don't have to have a lot of it, but it's like, okay, you're surprised. Okay, you obviously knew his name, so someone told you he was there. So you just say, oh my God, how the hell is this happening? It's Malachi Black. You don't go into, I've called this guy Tony and all this shit. Come on. And I know you were upset because you can't do that.
Yeah. So this is a special moment here. This came out of nowhere. Nobody was expecting this guy to be able to show up on a random Wednesday night in the middle, or actually in the beginning of July. Nobody expected this. This was one of those crown jewel moments that AEW had. And this is the problem that I'm beginning to really have with AEW. Look, we do a ton of praise for AEW. They get a lot of credit from us. We enjoy their programming above, I think, just about everybody else's, the absolute most. Like, we make it an appointment to make sure that we put time aside to view AEW because it is so good. Where AEW falls short is with their announcing team, okay? Whether it's JR introducing WWE Dynamite, whether it's It's Excalibur messing up who a wrestler's name is when he's debuting, whether it's Tony Schiavone just trying to keep it all together because shit is spiraling messily out of control. All right? The announcing team for AEW at this point is so piss poor. And you don't really realize how important announcing is in wrestling until it's really, really bad. Just go back to Monday Night Raw. Go back to what we used to have. You know what I'm saying? It was brutal to get through a Monday Night Raw because the announcing was so piss poor. You have a moment here on AEW to, one, highlight a guy and get his career started right. Two, you have a moment to make a special moment with the fans that are at home watching. All right? They're not in the building. The guys in the building can't hear what's going on. All they can do is see what's going on, and they're gonna remember that forever. What I'm going to remember forever from this moment was, hey, Aleister Black showed up, and they screwed his name up multiple times, and they really took me out of the experience and out of the moment. The announcing has the ability to pull you back, and basically, as you're watching, it's like a soap opera. You get invested. It has the ability to either sink you in deeper, which is what you want, or completely pull you out and dump a cold bucket of water on you. If Excalibur wants to go in the direction of talking about how he wrestled this guy, we're just going to go with this guy in the past, he could say something along those lines, this guy looks familiar. I believe I've wrestled him in the past. And at that point, Tony Khan's got to be in Gorilla and it's got to be on the headset with these guys being like, his name's Malachi Black. His name's Malachi Black. It's Malachi Black. It's Malachi Black. Instead, you've got Excalibur going, I think it's Tommy End. I wrestled Tommy End back in the day. Because that was his old indie name, was Tommy End. Instead, you get 3 minutes of that, and then they're like, no, it's Malachi Black is here. Malachi Black just showed up. Like, you can't have this. And this happens time and time again. And the announcing is so piss poor on AEW lately. I'm not sure if they're not having pre-production meetings. I'm not sure if guys are upset with each other and they're just not discussing things. And here's the thing. For those of you who don't know, when the announcers are working, the announcers are basically calling the action live. There's no script in front of them. They don't know what's happening. And the reason for all that is because you want to give off that shocked and that stunned appeal that you as the fan gets. So like when they're as excited as you are, that's what you want to convey. So they don't know like, okay, cool, it's the 10:15 time slot. We're gonna have Malachi Black show up and we're gonna do they're in what they basically know is, okay, cool, we've got Cody Rhodes coming out later on today. Cody Rhodes shows up now and like, all right, cool. So they got this interview going on with Cody Rhodes and they're just kind of sitting back. Next thing you know, lights go out and they can sell that because, you know, I'm sure Tony Khan's like, cool, the lights are going to go out. Don't freak out, boys. And they're hearing all this in their headpiece and they can be like, okay, cool. Sorry, we've had some technical difficulties today. Next thing you know, Malachi Black shows up. But at that moment, Tony Khan's got to be like, as the lights are coming up, that's Malachi Black. Like, he's got to tell them. Like, they have to get things cleaner and crisper. This is so freaking bad. You are arguably the best wrestling organization that we have on television. Yet your announcing team is so piss poor. And honestly, at this point, take JR off. Like, JR is garbage. And it sucks to say that about a legend. JR is garbage, okay? He gets nothing over. He gets nobody over. He doesn't even know the moves anymore. Remove JR's old ass. Put him in a trash can. Put him in the office somewhere. Let him go be part of talent evaluation. He's got a great eye for talent, okay? Let him go do that. Let him do his podcast. Let him sell his barbecue sauce. All right? Done. Tony Schiavone should be your lead announcer. Let Tony do his thing. All right? If you're going to have Excalibur, I need you to basically pipe in with all the crazy moves. Excalibur needs to be, if you remember in WCW, there was Mike Tenay. Mike Tenay was the guy who knew all the moves and all the holds and knew all the things about all the luchadors. That's what I need Excalibur to be. All right? You can find some other heel to be the heel announce guy. You can do that. All All right, what you've got going on right now is absolute trash, and you ruined a huge moment with a debuting guy who nobody expected to show up. There were 5 guys in AEW who knew that Aleister Black / Tommy End / Malachi Black, that he's going by now, was showing up and making his debut. That was Cody Rhodes, and that was a couple of the security guys, and it was basically Tony Khan. That was it. You guys botched that, and I'm pissed because you keep screwing this shit up every single week, and I'm over it.
You got to act like a big company with a big time moment and not act like you don't know what's going on. Absolutely. It killed the moment, but to see right away Malachi get in the ring with Arn Anderson and Cody Rhodes, you know it's going to be a big feud, and already within 5 seconds he's already bigger than he was in his former company. So
it's banana boats, right? Like,
it's crazy. And so now the thing we all want to know is, how the hell does he get to show up there? It was crazy. It was unbelievable that this went down. And you know why it went down? Because of a simple clerical error. The Office didn't change the number when he moved from NXT to WWE. So he's sitting there. He's going, okay, they've never changed it. I'm just going to not talk about it. And then it just happened. And he's like, okay, my contract. He had his lawyers look it over. AEW looked it over and said, what? So AEW knew for the last month that WWE jacked it up at the highest levels. And so now you're WWE and you go, and you're Vince, and you're like, what are we doing here? We are moving so far ahead that one of our big talents that we released, nobody paid attention to when this character's contract is up, the no compete, 60 more days. And on a flagship show, when there's the first time fans got to see AEW, for this to happen, somebody's getting fired, and I'm sure all the contracts got switched over right away. Memo. Contracts. Unfortunately, due to the error we made with a former character, Aleister Black, we now have to consider the no-compete clause, and it's really, really unfortunate. It's a bad mistake, and it's a major opportunity for AEW to capitalize. And
could you imagine sitting there? You look over your contract, and you're like, I think I only have a 30-day no-compete, and like you have to take this to your lawyer. Like, you get fired from WWE. You take this to your lawyer, you're like, that's a 30-day no-compete, right? And he's like, yeah, that's what that is. And you're like, okay, great. And now you've already had conversations with a guy like Cody Rhodes to come over to AEW. And you're like, you call Cody up and you're like, hey, Cody, I'm pretty sure I've got a 30-day non-compete. I looked it over. My attorney looked it over. Is there any way we can get in front of Tony and AEW's lawyers and can have them look it over? And you're just sitting there and you're like, you're itching to just debut and let everybody know what the hell's going on. Like, that's like having that winning lottery ticket. It's like being freaking on Willy Wonka and getting that golden ticket. You know what I'm saying? Like, you gotta be so excited. Because
absolutely,
after what WWE did to him and basically killed his career, like, at no point was when he was in NXT, he was a character that we all kind of bought into. When he got moved up to the main roster, we talked about this earlier, it was a death nail. They didn't do anything with him. So to know that you can come back and revitalize your career and you're going to go against one of the top dogs in AEW, oh my God, you had to have been so excited. It's like having that winning lottery ticket.
And I can't wait to see him, because finally he can be utilized in a company that can tell stories and can put him in a feud. And Cody Rhodes, hell yeah. Let's see Malachi Black, Cody Rhodes at a big show. That will draw some tickets. People will want to definitely see that. And you know what I want to see? I definitely want to hear and understand what made your list for this week's professional wrestling news and notes. Hit me with what you got. What caught your radar?
All right, so last week we didn't drop an episode. It was the 4th. We were both a little bit busy, and I think we both needed a little bit of time away from wrestling. So I got to get caught up on some things that took place last week. WWE star Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch, they got married not last Tuesday, but the Tuesday before. Fans were tipped off when Rollins referenced his impending nuptials on his Instagram story. Later, WWE confirmed that. Also, if you remember the Patriot, Del Wilkes Jr., he died of a heart attack on June 30th. He died at the age of 59, so sad day there. Now, we kind of mentioned Bayley a little bit. Bayley's going to be sidelined for at least 9 months. She was training for her I Quit match against Bianca Belair at Money in the Bank next week, and it's reported that she tore her ACL. The way the story goes, she was doing what they deem chain wrestling. Now, I'm still a little bit sketchy on what chain wrestling is. I believe If I understand it correctly, it's kind of where you do a sequence of moves back to back to back to back to back, and you kind of switch holds in and out with your training partner. And while she was doing that, she ended up tearing her ACL. So really sad for her, because I think this character that she's doing, it's annoying as all hell, but I think it is some of the best work she's done in her career in a long, long time. Now, we kind of mentioned earlier Jimmy Uso, or we mentioned the Usos and we mentioned Roman Reigns. Jimmy Uso is apparently taking a shit on his career. And WWE is not 100% positive what they want to do with Jimmy Uso going forward. Uso's been in some of the biggest storylines on SmackDown. If you watch SmackDown this week, they did not have a chance to retape SmackDown because they are moving out of the Thunderdome. This was their last week in the Thunderdome. So they taped a couple of episodes, and they weren't able to change anything around to adjust the Jimmy Uso situation. Now, Jimmy Uso was arrested Monday night in Pensacola, Florida, and charged with a misdemeanor DUI. According to police records obtained by TMZ, Uso was pulled over after running a red light and driving 50 miles an hour in a 35-mile-an-hour zone. Police say they smelled alcohol on Uso upon questioning him, so they gave him a field sobriety test. Uso failed the test and allegedly admitted to drinking multiple beers before driving. He was obviously arrested. The 35-year-old, whose real name is Jonathan Fatu, had a blood alcohol of 0.205, which is more than 2.5 times the legal limit of 0.08. So, over 20% of his blood was alcohol. This dude was hammered. At some point, WWE, this is the third time he's been arrested in, I think, 18 months, maybe 24 months. At some point, WWE has to step in and do something. There are questions on whether or not WWE is going to release him or not. I myself think they should force him to get some sort of help, but if you don't want the help, you're not going to take the help. What do you think should happen to Jimmy Uso at this point? I mean, he is obviously a danger to himself, and he is obviously a danger to his career, and it really sucks when you're building to big events like SummerSlam, and you've got a guy who basically takes a dump on your storylines and takes a dump on your business and what you're trying to do in his own push. Like, this is his push. Like, Jimmy Uso and Jey Uso have been featured so damn much on SmackDown. We talked about it weeks ago, how they're involved in every single damn storyline, to only go and screw it all up for yourself. What has to happen here?
He needs to be fired, and he needs to have 6 months of rehab. They should take the time and say, look, your career's got to be put on hold. You got to go and you got to consistently show us that you can't, because he can't handle it. He is an alcoholic. It's pretty straightforward now. When you drink to excess and marked by the inability to make a phone call for a driver means that you are really in a headspace where you believe that you're infallible and that you're willing to put your life and someone else's life in danger, not only one by drinking, and whoever's around him is so careless and doesn't care about his well-being or the well-being of others. So that indicates somebody that's out of control and does not need to be in the spotlight making that much money. He needs to take a step back, get fired, go to rehab, come back in a year or two, and figure out his life, because this is a scenario in which it's only going to get worse. And if you don't step in, his life is in danger.
Yeah, he's also putting other people's lives at danger. To me, this is it's insane that it's gotten to this point, and it's crazy that nobody has grabbed him, smacked him around, and be like, man, you got to figure this out, because one, you're killing your own career. Two, you could potentially kill yourself and somebody else, and it's really, really sad that we're here now. Kenny Omega also pretty banged up. Dave Meltzer is reporting that Kenny was suffering from an athletic hernia, a deep bone bruise near his tailbone, general wear and tear on his knees, but says that stem cell treatments and platelet-rich plasma therapy has helped make a world of difference, and that's part of the reason why Kenny Omega is able to wrestle in Impact, wrestle on AEW, wrestle in AAA, and go on to win all these belts, because this guy is basically globetrotting and wrestling every single day at this point. So what I'm telling you here, and what I think you should maybe be picking up, is Kenny Omega at some point is going to drop all these belts. I think we both believe at Slammiversary he'll be dropping the TNA belt, or the Impact World Championship belt, and at some point he will drop the AAA belt to Andrade, And then I think he'll probably drop the belt to Hangman, and you can expect to see Kenny Omega take a little bit of time away from the ring. He's also dealing with a torn labrum in his shoulder, so he's pretty beat up right now. So just look for Kenny Omega to maybe step away and kind of heal up a little bit. Now, Omega is currently scheduled to defend his Impact World Championship, like we mentioned, against Sami Callihan at Impact Slammiversary. Again, that's going to take place on July 17th. That looks like that should be a fantastic match. Don't be surprised, like I said, if he drops the belt to Sami Callihan. And Sami Callihan, I think we both agree, Sami Callihan deserves a bit of a monster push here. He is probably the guy out of Impact who deserves that big push. Would you not say yes or no?
Yeah, absolutely. Fully agree with you.
Yep. All right, so update on SummerSlam's main event. John Cena has been considered to main event SummerSlam versus Roman Reigns, but Cena's filming schedule for Argyle may prevent him from doing this match. This is being reported by Dave Meltzer. Do you want to see Cena at SummerSlam taking on Roman Reigns? Is that the direction they should go?
No. Part-timers, attractions, no. He should be involved in SummerSlam, but not in a match. I just think that it's too soon. Obviously, it'd be great to see him. Actually, just have him come out there. Just play his music, have him come out there and just cut a promo. Actually, the best thing he could do, lull in the moment, lull in the action. All of a sudden, boom, John Cena's music comes out. He walks out, and he just cuts a promo as a fan. I'm sitting back watching, and I'm bored as shit. And he should come out and say, I don't need you, Stephanie McMahon, going on social media telling me you want to put out some altered reality. Go out there and create stars. Make these boys and ladies work. Tell him to cut a promo as a fan. And you remember that promo that Vince did when he said back in the day, I need somebody to take the brass ring and take it. And he laid that promo that said, I'm tired of this and we need to have somebody, one of you, take the brass knuckles, take the bull by the horns and take us into the next generation. John Cena needs to come out and really just say, this shit is stale. He needs to cut a realistic promo and just say, I'm a fan and I love this product. I laid my soul in this ring and you guys out here are dropping the ball. From the writers to the contract people to Vince, he needs to call out Vince and just have a promo, drop the mic and walk off, and then set the tone for the next 5 years. Because I think WWE is not shy about acknowledging reality. Acknowledge it and just say, look, our ratings are in the shitter, but I know this company with the likes of AJ Styles and da-da-da-da-da, you set the tone and you challenge somebody, come take this company over. Because of the fact that, you have these wrestlers that are there, but they're underutilized, and basically WWE's underperforming in the ratings, and they're still getting money, which makes it really hard for them to get better because the cash is flowing, the product is suffering.
Yeah, you know what, I like that. There's always this part where the show kind of goes off the rails, and it's usually right around the hour and a half mark, maybe the hour 15 mark, where it's either after a match that just didn't live up to the hype of the previous match. There's always some type of a bad booking where there's something that just kind of goes a little bit weird. You have Cena come down, you just have him cut the most raw, real promo ever. Just let him go off script. Just let him do his thing and let him call everybody out in the locker room. And then just slam the mic down and just have him walk off. That would be straight fire. Almost give a pipe bomb promo. That's what we want. Give a pipe bomb promo. I think it'd be fantastic. And finally, Jon Moxley will be sporting a new look this week on AEW Dynamite when he takes on Carl Anderson for the IWGP USA Championship. Jon Moxley's bald. Shaved his head bald. In a recent tweet, Moxley showed off his cue ball look. He's got zero hair up top, and he's saying bald is beautiful. So look for that on this Wednesday's AEW Dynamite. Jon Moxley's coming back fresh off of having his baby girl, so he'll be getting into the ring here again, and he'll be picking up the wrestling, so it should be good. And that's going to do it for this week's wrestling news and notes, my man.
Make sure you follow Adam on Twitter at AdamRSTROZ. Follow the network at Detroit Podcast. Anywhere you choose to listen to your favorite podcast, Detroit Sports Podcast is available. All you have to do is search Detroit Sports Podcast. And when you hit that subscribe button, our daily content will find you. We talk about Detroit sports. We talk about Michigan football, gambling, wrestling, everything in relation to Detroit sports, headlined by our marquee podcast, DocNJock, which has been going strong since 2013, 414 consecutive weeks of podcasting and making noise and talking shit in Detroit sports. So you don't want to miss out. People notice. People are definitely enjoying the conversation. And I think one of the great compliments that was paid was by a friend of mine. His name is Kevin, and he listens regularly. And he says, when I tune into a podcast, I just want to listen to guys that are relatable and that are talking shit. And you and Adam have a natural chemistry. And after all this time, I can just tune in and listen to some guys talking sports. And that's what we've been about. And that's what we've always wanted to be about, was just peek into our conversations that we would have had off air. But now we put them on air, and thank you guys for the compliment. Thanks, Kevin, for that nice note. It means a lot when people say that, and I know that I wouldn't have invested all this time into the podcast if you guys weren't into it, and especially with Adam and all the great stuff he brings to the table. And I get excited to talk about professional wrestling. And to end, baby, this was NWO week on WWE, and it was a great week to see Kevin Nash chat it up with Steve Austin, to see X-Pac back on the bump. It was a great time. 25 years ago, one of the great factions, baby, of all time was established. And if you don't know, now you know. It's the New World Order of wrestling, baby. And it was a great faction. Look it up. Watch the YouTube videos. Watch when Hulk Hogan dropped the leg drop. It was a special time. It was a time when impressionable young teens were into it in college as well. And it was one of the great angles orchestrated by Eric Bischoff, Hulk Hogan, and the entire WCW organization. So we'll end with that, baby. NWO for life. Detroit Sports Podcast, here to stay. And thanks, cuz. Another episode of the DocNJock Wrestling Podcast in the books. Can't wait for next week, baby, as we preview Money in the Bank, baby.